All right, Big Man, today is Friday. It's September 3rd. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. As always, today will be True Crime Friday. Before we get into it, though, I do want to talk about what I've been talking to you about all week and what I've been talking to you about all year since March, since we dropped the thing. The JP Graziano beef kit, you know the drill by now. Comes with a bottle of Mezzo Giardiniera and a bottle of Italian beef seasoning. This thing is going to be probably all over the place on Twitter this weekend because college football is really kicking off here. I know last week was week 0, but this is week 1. Go grab a beef kit. You don't want to be shut out for NFL. Okay, next week's NFL week 1, and it should be able to get there to you in time. No promises if you order it at tasterealchicago.com. Or if you're in Chicago, you can make sure you have it by going up in person to a Home Depot location. It's at Elston, Lincoln, and McCormick. It's in Evanston, Niles, and the Chicago location on Kimball. Go there to grab it, or you could go to the store at 901 West Randolph, and you could grab it at that nice walk-up window that is open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday until 1 a.m. Go check it out if you're having a few this weekend, and get yourself a little bit of a drunken sandwich or, a sober sandwich, whatever you want to be. If you're just a late owl, that night window is there for you. But it's about the beef kits, folks. TasteRealChicago.com, Canada, UK, you name it. We could ship it to you. Or anywhere here in the U.S. So go to tasterealchicago.com. Go get it. Make sure you're ready for us for that Rams game, week 1 next week. All right, Allie, so what do we have for today?
Okay, so today we are starting off with the Superbike Murders, which took place in Chesney, South Carolina. You may have heard of these, but as I was telling you, we're doing something a little different than what we've done before. This is an unsolved case, spoiler alert. And it's going to connect to some of the stuff we're going to be talking about in these next coming weeks. Have you heard of the Superbike Murders?
I have not.
Okay. Good.
I just pulled it up, though. Okay. Sorry. No, never mind. I don't want to speculate. Let's just get into it.
Okay. So November 6, 2003 is when this takes place. This was just a very normal day. Superbike Motors was a motorbike store in Chesney, South Carolina.
Oh, so Superbike Motors. For some reason, I thought you were saying Superbike Murders.
Superbike Motors Murders.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So Superbike Murders is what we're talking about.
Got it.
At Superbike Motors.
Gotcha. Okay. So sorry.
Okay. So the owner, Scott Ponder, is, he's at work that day. His mother, Beverly Guy, and then 2 employees, Chris Sherbert and Brian Lucas. They are the 4 employees that are running shop that day. Again, it's a very normal day. They're taking care of customers. They're fixing up bikes in the back. They're showing customers bikes in the front, doing their thing. Nothing out of the ordinary. The next thing you know, this guy comes in to look at a very specific bike. And they take him, they show him the bike. They're sitting there chatting about it. There's other customers in the store, and the other customers leave, what have you. And it's clear that this guy looking at this specific bike is, it doesn't have a ton of riding experience, but the store employees are happy to show him it anyway. A sale's a sale. Doesn't matter if he is super great at riding or knows how to ride it or whatnot.
Yep.
Still going to sell it to him. So they take him around. Next thing you know, everybody's dead. From 0 to 100 real fast. Now, Scott's the owner, Scott's friend, Noel, had actually just gotten off the phone with Scott. He was talking to him. He kind of frequents the shop a lot, and he was like, all right, I'm going to stop by, what have you. So within the maybe 30-ish minutes where they talked on the phone and Noel comes to the store, this is when
they find out that everybody's dead?
Right.
Okay.
He's the one who finds, so there's one of their bodies is laying almost like propping the door open as if he was either coming in or out of the store, and that's where he was murdered. Okay. And so the door is open because of him.
So he sees it right away, pretty much.
Yeah, so he rolls up, gets out of his truck, go to the store, and then he sees this body. And obviously he knows, again, he's friends with Scott. He knows Scott's mom. He knows the employees. He frequents the shop, and they're all close friends. So Noel is obviously very taken aback. Interestingly enough, though, again, this is 2003. He still makes his way into the store. Either whether he's like, oh my God, what happened? Oh my God, I need to help. His instinct was to continue to go into the store. Now he then finds, Beverly Guy, who is dead. He finds the third person who is dead. And at that point he's like, okay, clearly something happened here. I need to call authorities.
Yeah, massacre.
Yeah. So he uses the store's phone to call 911. And police arrive. And this is when they find the fourth individual in the back who's actually working on a bike, also dead. So now we know that all the employees at the shop are dead. No one else is there, no customers, whatever. And it was a very short period of time in which they were murdered. Now, there were all four of them were shot dead. There were 18 shell casings that were found in the store that all came from a 9mm gun. However, there were no fingerprints on any of the casings at all, which is extremely peculiar or super specific, because think about it. If you're loading a magazine, you have to touch every single one of those to get them into the magazine, to get them into the gun. So either this is very intentional, the person was wearing gloves, he knew what he was doing to not leave any fingerprints behind on any of the casings. So there was immediate suspicion around Noel, because again, Noel rolls up to the store. He doesn't have to enter the store to know that something's going on. There's a body propping the door open.
Yeah, like why wouldn't he peel back right away when he sees it?
Right. So the police start asking.
What year was this again?
2003.
Okay,
so police are questioning, okay, one, when he calls 911, he says, everybody's dead. Everyone's been shot dead. Like, get over here quick. However, Noel had not actually gone far enough into the store to go to the back to see that all four of them were actually dead. He only saw 3 people, and then either, quote unquote, assumed that everybody was dead. So police are like, how did you
know that the person in the back was dead or not?
How did you know that they were all dead if you didn't see them all dead?
And he was super free, like he was very knowledgeable about the shop, like he knew everyone there, you said?
Yeah,
okay.
He was familiar with everybody that was there, so he would have known who's there. He had just spoken to Scott, told him he was on his way. And then the other thing with this is that, again, since this is 2003, he used the store's phone to call 911. And this is significant because 2 things. One, he entered the store knowing that there was a dead body laying there, not knowing if there was somebody still dangerous, somebody still in the store still. Like, so he went in there not knowing if the attacker was still in there. And instead of, seeing clearly something is wrong, going back to his truck, taking his cell phone to call 911.
Yeah, and that's why I asked again to see what year it was. 2003, he would have
had a cell phone.
Yeah, probably.
So, and that's exactly what the police asked. Say, why didn't you go back to your truck where you knew it was safe and use your cell phone to call 911? Why did you go inside the store? Why are you saying everybody's dead before you knew everyone was dead and you didn't know if the attacker was still in there? So this raises suspicion. And Noel essentially kind of explains it away as, I was in shock and that was my instinct, was to go in, was to see what's going on. Once I saw what was going on, I was already in the store, so I used the store's phone and what have you. So suspicion was also raised by some of the customers that were in the store. So there was a dad and a son that was in the store, and they were shopping. Actually, I think he was coming in to make a payment on a bike that he had bought. And then he saw this other customer who had come in to see this very specific bike. He also noted, he's like, this guy didn't really seem like he knew much about bikes, which was kind of like peculiar that he was looking at this very specific bike. But essentially, he kind of was just like, whatever, none of my business, and like went along his day, and he left. And by the time that customer got home, it was all over the news that everybody in the shop had been dead. And he was like, I was literally just in there with my son and kind of literally just made it out alive. And he could have been there, 5 minutes later. Who knows what happens if he's stuck around. So it's raised on this customer that had actually made it out was like, well, I saw this other customer in there and he left. I left before he did. So he was the last, the last individuals that I saw were the 4 store employees and this one customer in there. And he kind of described him as about 6 foot, 175 to 200 pounds, dark brown and feathery hair and skinny lips. So he describes this guy and he's like, this is the last guy. This is one of the individuals that was left in the store. So when that customer left, there was all 4 employees and this one customer. And so they start looking for this. I mean, that's a very broad description of a guy.
Big time.
So they are not exactly sure what they're looking for. but it's some sort of lead. Now, the next biggest suspect that police look at is actually Scott's wife, Melissa. And Melissa and Scott have a son. And so Melissa is in for questioning, and she has to go change the baby. So she gets rid of the diaper, the dirty diaper. Now, police actually think they actually use this. They take the dirty diaper and they take the DNA to test it against Scott. Turns out the DNA test comes back and says that Scott is not the father's baby. It says that actually Brian is the father's baby, which is the other guy working in the shop and Scott's best friend. So now they've got major motive, right? Now they're thinking, okay, this is the victims of this love triangle gone wrong.
Yep.
So Melissa, however, insists, from day one, she says that is absolutely not true. There is no way that anybody but Scott can be the father. And she is adamant about this. This goes on, this theory and her as a suspect, it goes on for 18 months. And that's a long time to be looked at as a suspect, for them to be saying, this is not Scott's child, this is Brian's child, you were clearly having an affair. These are obviously two people she is very close with. So her friends and her family are like, what's going on? Who do we believe? And Melissa is so adamant that she begs police to redo the DNA test. Says, just please redo it. It has to be wrong. There is no way that Scott is not the father of this baby. And so they redo it a second time. And again, it proves that Brian is actually the father.
Okay.
Now, Melissa still, even after 2 DNA tests, is like, you guys have it all wrong. There is no way that Brian is the father. I had nothing to do with him. There was no affair whatsoever. Scott has to be the father. So because of how adamant she is, she was asking for a second test, even though it came back with these skewed results. Police decide that they're going to double check their work. So they tested, this gets a little confusing. So they tested the Beverly's, the mom's DNA against Scott's DNA, her son. Think, okay, this is going to show familial DNA. It'll show that they're related.
And Scott, the guy who came in the store, just to be clear, because there's 2 Scotts. That's right. And you didn't name that.
There's one Scott.
There's one, so Scott Ponder? One of the guys who was murdered.
Scott Ponder's the owner.
Okay. Sorry,
yeah.
Continue.
And then Beverly Guy is his mom.
Okay.
And Noel is the one who came into the store.
Sorry, okay. Well, that's right. That's right, crossed up.
So they cross-check Scott, the owner's DNA with his mom, Beverly's DNA, to see, okay, if we are correct here, they're going to match up as familial. But they don't. They come back as not matching as familial DNA. So now police are like,
whoa,
something's wrong.
Yeah.
They go back, they find out that they accidentally mislabeled Scott and Brian's DNA. They switched them. They switched the labels on accident when whoever was collecting DNA from the crime scene. So 1, this clears Melissa. 2, they've just wasted a bunch of time and a bunch of resources following this lead that wasn't actually a lead to begin with.
A bunch of time.
Yeah. And, who knows what else got messed up, right?
I get how you do that, but how do you do that at the same time,
That's,
You ever think about that? Like when you're getting like blood work done or something and like they put the label, like,
are you sure?
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine? That's fine. How can you tell it from the next person, right?
Exactly, but sorry.
So, this is a huge mix-up. And if a mix-up this big can happen, what else got messed up, right? They'll have no way of knowing that. But this clears Melissa. Melissa is also double cleared when they actually look at the evidence. So they found the time of death, pretty solid time of death, because when Scott was shot, either as the others were getting shot or after he got shot before he passed away, he had his phone in his hand, and they looked at his phone and he dialed 333 # the pound sign Now, police look at this. One, they can see the time that he pressed send. So within a couple minutes, they have, a very small frame of time of death, which is good, which helps them in their investigation. But they also look at this as Melissa was speed dial number 3 on their phone, on Scott's phone. So they can tell he was trying to call Melissa, whether for help, to say something's wrong, call help, I've been shot, some people are getting shot, there's an attacker, whatever have you. He was trying to contact Melissa is what they take from this. If he were trying to contact Melissa, Melissa couldn't have been the one sitting there shooting them, right? Mm-hmm. So now she's extremely cleared. Brian's parents actually end up hiring a private investigator who's a friend of theirs to look into, because now we've got Melissa is cleared, a customer from the store that is, a very broad description, really no way to track down.
The thin-lipped man.
Right, the thin-lipped man. So these leads are not super promising. And I think that's actually more so also why they latched onto Melissa, because it looked like a really good lead, even though it wasn't. Now, Brian's parents hire this private investigator, and this private investigator comes up with a list of customers that were in or purchased things from the store for the last 10 months. Now, that's a long period of time. That's a lot to track down and look into. And they end up handing over this list of leads to the police who are working this investigation. Essentially, the police never took any time to look into it. They kind of essentially just brushed it off as not important to the investigation. After this, the case completely goes cold. They were not able to track down any more leads. They were not able to track down this customer. Noel was cleared of any suspicion. This case goes cold and goes unsolved for 13 years. Now, fast forward 13 years to 2016, it gets solved, but that is something that you are going to have to wait until next week to find out why.
Oh, you're two-parting us.
We're pseudo 3-parting you.
Pseudo 3. Okay. All right. So that's it for this week.
That's it for this week.
I didn't even see that coming.
I know.
And I always see everything coming. Wow. Okay. All right. Allie did it to us today. All right. Thank you, Allie. That's it for today, everybody. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next Friday. I'm intrigued here. All right. See you then.